everyone. I'm Donna Williams, the chairwoman of the Wake County Republican Party, coming to you from our office, and sitting next to me is Trey Allen. He is our candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. Trey, thank you so much for coming in to meet with me today.
I'm happy to be here, Donna.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to ask you a couple questions for the listener so they can get to know you just a little bit better. And let's start off with, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up outside of Lumberton, North Carolina.
Okay.
My family's lived in that area for a long, long time. I met my wife when we were in high school together, Lumberton. Went to UNC Pembroke for undergrad and then Chapel Hill for law school.
Nice.
I spent 4.5 years in the Marine Corps after law school. Most of that was overseas. My wife and I spent 3.5 years on Okinawa. I did do some deployments out of Okinawa, including one to Iraq. And when we came back to North Carolina, I had the good fortune to clerk for the man who's now our Chief Justice, Paul Newby, during his first year on the court. Then I practiced law at a firm in Raleigh for several years. Then I became a professor at UNC Chapel Hill, and now I'm the general counsel for the court system. And what that means is I run an office of 11 lawyers at the Administrative Office of the Courts, and we give legal guidance to court officials around the state. I should also say my wife and I have 5 children.
Wow.
And we homeschool them. My wife really does,
Yeah.
the bulk of that. And we do that primarily because, for really 3 reasons. One is we are, our faith, our Christian faith is important to us, and we want to impart that to them. We also, want to impart our love for America, and homeschool gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of allowing students to excel when they're when they can excel, and to slow down when you need to slow down, and we value that flexibility.
And your children are not having to learn all this, I'll just say, crazy stuff that's going on in our schools right now. So good for them.
Yeah, it's a fairly traditional curriculum that we're using.
Excellent. So tell us, what attracted you to law, to going into law?
Well, when I was in college, my initial plan was to do a PhD in political science. So I've always been, for a long, long time, I've been interested in government and questions about the structure of government. How should we structure government? What should be the goals of government? But when I was in my junior year, I began to think that maybe the law would be a better fit, that maybe I'd like to do something a bit more active. But of course, as I said earlier, I ended up being a professor anyway. It just took a little more time.
That's okay. So you've learned it from the inside out, I think, right?
I think so, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What is your judicial philosophy?
So I, first of all, think that, just in general, that a restrained judiciary is very important. It's vital for our system for judges to understand that their role is the application of the law and not the rewriting of the law. When judges rewrite laws to reach particular outcomes, they're really short-circuiting the democratic process.
Right.
In our state, we elect judges, we elect legislators, so you need to know what you've been elected to do. If you want to write laws, run for the legislature.
Right.
I'd say, more sort of specifically when it comes to the Constitution, I'm an adherent of what's called originalism. That is, I think that courts, when they are interpreting the Constitution, really should be guided by the way in which the provisions were understood at the time that they were ratified. That's pretty much as close as you can get to an objective approach to the law, and one in which should help prevent a judge from giving you the Constitution the judge wants you to have, instead of the Constitution that we've been given. Yeah.
And what made you decide to run for our Supreme Court of this wonderful state?
Well, as I said, I did a clerkship early in my legal career with Chief Justice Newby, so I got to see how the Supreme Court functions and how important it is to our state.
Right.
so many North Carolinians don't even know that we have a state Supreme Court.
You're right.
But it is vital because the North Carolina Supreme Court has the last word on the interpretation of state law. When it interprets the state constitution or a statute, there's no appeal from that.
Mm-hmm.
And when it interprets federal law, and it frequently does, especially in criminal cases, there's no appeal from that except to the U.S. Supreme Court. So those rulings are vital. They affect all areas of our lives. And so we need to have justices on our state Supreme Court who will adhere to the proper role of a justice
Mm-hmm.
and not substitute their opinions for what the law is. This year, so that's sort of why I'm generally interested in the court.
Mm-hmm.
As far as why now, we have the opportunity in this election to change the court majority. And I think the current majority does deviate
Mm-hmm.
in some cases, in some important cases, has deviated from the proper role of judges. And I think that kind of thing weakens people's faith in the judiciary.
Yes.
And so I'm running to try to do what one person can to increase or restore that confidence in our courts.
Well, and I will say, as a citizen of North Carolina and Wake County, I appreciate you running, and I totally appreciate your answers. In my opinion, there's too many judges that are, in effect, making decisions because of their agenda, and that is not what a judge is supposed to be. And I'm not a law student, but that, to me, common sense tells me that's not right. So thank you. I'll just say thank you.
Well, I've told, as I've been campaigning around the state, I've told people, be sure, please support me,
Mhm.
but be sure that you vote for the legislators
Right.
who are going to support the policies that you want, because I'm going to follow the law,
Mhm.
no matter the party of the General Assembly that passed it.
Right. Right.
So I'm going to do my best to respect that role.
Thank you so much. So before I go into our finishing questions, is there anything else you'd like to tell our listeners about yourself and about running for this very important position? Anything at all?
I'd say that when you consider judicial candidates, you really do need to pay close attention to judicial philosophy. So I'm very glad you asked me about that, because it's those core principles that are going to guide judges when they have to make decisions in the big cases that we care about. If a judicial candidate can't really articulate a judicial philosophy, I'd say that's a red flag.
Okay, I agree. So our listeners, if they want to help you, how do they find you online? What can they do to help you?
Great question.
Yeah.
Thank you. So my website is TreyAllenNC.com. That's TreyAllen, NC.com. You can learn more about my background, more about my judicial philosophy there. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. You can sign up to volunteer with the campaign. You can donate to the campaign. Judicial races are statewide, and statewide races are expensive.
Yes, they are. So I just want to say thank you so very much. I know you're very, very busy. Statewide campaign, I cannot even begin to imagine how busy you are. But I appreciate you. I know our listeners totally appreciate you coming in and talking with me today. And I just want to say to our listeners, please share this video with everybody that you know who lives in North Carolina, period. Put it up on your social media. Just help us get the word out. And I'll just wrap it up by saying I am coming to you from the Wake County Republican Party office. That's what you're seeing in the background. And, you know, if you're curious to come in and see what our office is like, please come. We're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 5. And our website is wakegop.org. And will you share your website one more time before we wrap it up?
Sure. It's TreyAllenNC.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for listening, everyone.